So I would like to introduce Richard Garratt and a little bit about Dimension Data from the EMC side. They are the #1 partner for EMC globally so far this year. They are a true global partner, which we're all looking for, our global customers. How do we conduct business on a true global level, which means shipping to different locations and handling the logistics and dealing with all kinds of different cultures and so on and so forth. So somebody who can interact globally is really important, and I'm sure they'll talk about it, but they have 60 people dedicated to the EMC partnership. So, Richard, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks.
Yeah. Firstly, I do want to thank Carl and Ed just for giving us the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. As Carl mentioned, a terrific opportunity for us to partner in the field. And I do have one caveat before I get into this material. It's not all original material. You may have heard it before. It may be the same language you've heard before, but they're definitely stories that are worth repeating. So we live in this world of infinite possibility, and I thought, given that the general theme of my presentation is around data and analytics, I was tempted to present myself with my DNA. This is my DNA, recently analyzed by one of the biotech companies, and who would think that in this era, someone like me would have access to take a DNA swab, send it off, 3 or 4 weeks later, get my full download DNA, 23 chromosomes, and know that fortunately I have no crazy genetic defects, only a few. So I do lead the data center business in the Americas. As Carl mentioned, not only in the Americas, but through EMEA, APJ, and also Australia, we have a lot of individuals that are dedicated to making our teamwork successful on the ground. So in keeping with the theme of the Olympics and sport, there are a few things that I thought I would share. And I'm going to keep it brief. I know it's been probably a long day for all of you, with a lot of slides, but I am going to talk about a win, and this is a win that you'll probably all recognize and rally behind, I hope, in the field, as it's a true example of global partnership on a very large scale. I'll then talk about the H2 priorities, because I think the thing that we've done very successfully in the field is each and every one of us are very clear on the purpose we're there to execute in our partnership and then with our clients, and that helps us be successful and build these success stories together. I'll then highlight a very brief story, and it's got a couple of videos to kind of keep you interested, but it's what we're doing and it's very relevant because it's something that's happening right now, and it's how we as Dimension Data are digitizing and really revolutionizing the viewing experience of the Tour de France, and we're doing that with EMC technology, so very exciting stuff. So right now, I'm encouraging you all to take out your phones and follow these two Twitter handles. The first is @LeTourData, and this is a Twitter handle where you'll receive first-hand information about the kind of analysis and analytics that we're producing on the Tour de France cycling race as it's happening in the moment. The other Twitter handle, @Team Dimension Data, is in fact the handle of our own professional world cycling team who's participating in the Tour this year. So follow both of those. I encourage you to share the data and analytics. It's very exciting stuff.
Well, Mark Cavendish.
Yeah. And Mark Cavendish, absolutely. He's one of the lead riders. Unfortunately, he's had to abandon the Tour this year right after the last stage due to fatigue, but he's now preparing himself for the Olympics, which we're very excited about. And we'll go on to do that with Steve Cummings. And then we will be in the room towards the back, and please get any one of us to cover off these topics in more detail. I do have Ken Canaway, who's our Alliance Manager in the back. Ken, please wave to the folks. And also our Senior Vice President, Stephen Maddock, of our Solutions Engineering Group. And we're more than happy to engage you guys. So let's get into it. And this is my favorite topic, and it is Broadcom. And again, this is not my own material because these facts and these points speak for themselves. This was a terrific win we saw in the first part of this year, about $25 million in total across hardware, software, TLA, and what was really exciting, it was a NetApp takeout, so about 45 petabytes of NetApp taken out of that environment, and a significant amount of nodes that are going into this client globally. What's more important, and this is really where I encourage our sales guys to learn the story, what did we do for our clients? So together, we're saving the clients on average about 29% on the ongoing cost rate, and more importantly, and this is really where the senior execs at Broadcom and also Avago could lock in this investment protection, is on standardizing on an architecture and a solution on a global basis as Avago made the acquisition of Broadcom. So just such an exciting opportunity to engage around large-scale opportunities, multi-country, lots of complexity in the transaction model, disaggregating the hardware from the software, and I think we've broken some new ground together, which we tend to do in these kinds of large deals, but very exciting nonetheless. And I do want to, put a big shout out to the team. These kinds of deals don't happen with one or two individuals. George was very instrumental on the EMC front, driving the solution together with a number of the SEs, and also quite an extensive Dimension Data team that helped lead and win this opportunity. So I think that deserves a round of applause. Well, Dimension Data, they always say you're only as good as your last sale. So let's move forward. So our H2 priorities, and what I want to cover here is just take a quick look at our pipeline. Right? Our pipeline is bigger than it's ever been for EMC Isilon today. We've got a number of opportunities with existing accounts. We're expanding the footprint of Isilon in the environment, leveraging some of the new technology. We're also looking at new opportunities with existing Dimension Data accounts, the likes of Caterpillar, where they're using it for new use cases, and the opportunities there to scale it on a global basis. The most exciting one, and I was chatting to my sales consultant earlier this morning, TRW, is moving in the right direction. We think that's a very strong win for us here in Q3, and it's TRW ZF Corp, so we definitely think this has global reach into Europe as well. So we're looking forward to closing that out with you here in the next quarter. And then we look at the solution priorities. And if I look down the priority list, Ed, that you probably use in your slide deck, and we hit the bottom section that says analytics, and you've got operational analytics. That's definitely somewhere that we're focused here in H2, and specifically around security operational analytics with Splunk. You might be saying to yourself, Rich, I don't get it. You're running data center, here you're talking operational analytics and Splunk. What's going on? Well, let me give you some facts on why we should be that partner with you in those accounts and those opportunities. Over the past 2 to 3 years, we've developed our big data and analytics practice. So we have expertise on our staff that can help our clients look at the various use cases, leveraging the technology, not just for operational analytics, but also Hadoop use cases with Cloudera, Hortonworks, etc. Many of these individuals are Splunk certified. But not only that, we have a number of environments available and very easily accessible for our joint clients to do proof of value use case scenarios on our global cloud platform. So if you have a client in Europe, we have a client in Australia, or even where I'm originally from in South Africa, you can get them using our cloud very quickly with a use case and start proving out the solution value. And our cloud platform is architected on EMC technology. So another win for us globally. When we ultimately come to designing the solution for the clients, many clients may start off down a capital route, and halfway through they say, we've had a change of mind. We actually now need to consume this as an operating expense. The benefit of working with Dimension Data is not only are we a gold partner to EMC, we're also a platinum service provider. And that means that as your opportunity moves through these different delivery and consumption models, we can partner with you all the way. And in fact, the TRW opportunity is a utility-based model where the client will be consuming it on a pay-as-you-go basis.
So Richard, just a question for you.
Sure.
When they're pay-as-you-go, you still buy the whole transaction from us up front?
Correct. Yes. The transaction to EMC is still seen as a capital transaction as we conclude the deal. So in the world of security and operational analytics, something that is very important to our clients is credibility around the broader topic of cybersecurity. And within Dimension Data, we're a very well-known cybersecurity consulting and system integration partner, but it doesn't stop there. We have extensive reach within the NTT group. That's our parent company out of Japan, and into companies like Solutionary. And on an annual basis, we produce what we call this Global Threat Intelligence Report. And the next chart actually covers a few of those statistics. And these are the reasons why clients engage us around security topics. This is the number that I really want you to focus in on. 40% of all internet traffic traverses the NTT backbone in some or other way. So generally, we have a very good sense of what's going on out there from a security perspective and can coach and guide our clients around security and the best method to protect their assets for their organization. So when we're engaging clients together, I encourage you to understand our security capabilities. We'll have a few copies of the Threat Intelligence Report that you can page through. But this is IP that we have tracking a significant amount of data on a global basis. So let's get into my favorite topic, which is talking about how we're revolutionizing the viewing experience of the Tour de France. It started back in 2015, and for a number of years, Dimension Data is a very sport-orientated organization. We had sponsored a number of golfers, etc., but we really wanted to get into a sport where we felt we could really make a difference from a technology standpoint. We, in fact, had many discussions with the McLaren F1 team, but that sport, by and large, has already moved significantly down the path of analytics. But we actually were approached by the ASO, and they're part of the Amory Sports Organization, and they've been running the Tour de France for the last more than 100 years. And they approached us and said, what about cycling? And what's interesting is cycling is on the rise. It's on the rise with millennials. You actually see declining golf membership, which is quite interesting. So it's a sport that has got momentum. And as you start picking at the surface, you'll realize that the Tour de France is the most watched sporting event in the world over 21 days. 10 to 11 million people just line the streets where the race takes place. And that's over and above the viewing audience that extends to millions of people across the globe. So let's take a watch of this video. It's the CIO from the ASO. Okay, sound.
The Tour de France has been created by the newspaper Lotto. At the very beginning, it was the press stuff, and the idea was just, to tell a nice story and in order to sell some newspapers. And then it got its magnificence with the era of television. And now the next era is definitely the one of digital. Digital is key for the sport, generally speaking. It's definitely key for cycling. We are in an era where things are going to move in the next, few months and years. But I think that data will definitely give to the sports the opportunity to tell so many nice stories, which are so valuable for the sports. It's more like to make people understand how this sport is a great sport, how complex it is, and to make complicated things simple. That's really what we are looking for. I've got a great confidence in the relation with Dimension Data. They are very, very active, very pushy, very innovative. They are there to deliver, to put all their skills into the project, which is number one thing, and number two, which is also key in the relationship. They know cycling, they love cycling, and they know what they are talking about. So you have a mix there with people in love with the sports, and having the skills and the knowledge to make things happen. So, I mean, the claim of dimension data is accelerate your ambition. It's exactly where we are.
So great. So let me give you some context of the Tour de France and the actual race itself. So it takes place every year, and it's been taking place since the early 1900s. And it's about 22 teams, 198 riders, covering about 3,500 kilometers over 21 days. And the interesting thing with the Tour de France is that this was our competition in terms of providing data. So we kind of liked this. We thought the bar was quite low. And in fact, this is how they used to measure and record the race stats up until 2014. And I mean, it just blows your mind when you think we've got access to all this technology, and yet here they are recording, the lead group, the minutes of the peloton behind, et cetera, et cetera. So 2015 was the first year that we got engaged on this 5-year journey with the ASO, and we launched our live tracking website. And in fact, on all the bicycles, you'll see there's like a stick right at the back, and that's actually the sensor capturing all the geospatial information about each and every rider. And you can imagine each and every rider now being tracked, huge amounts of data points, pushing that off into our big data truck, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, and then leveraging our cloud platform for analytics. But it was the first time last year that there was live speed data for the races that was pushed out to the media, and they could use it for television and the live websites. This year, well, before I get to that, let me talk about this because I thought this was quite interesting. So some of you might be in miles, some in kilometers. I won't translate, but anyway. This was a tweet that went out last year, and this was one of the riders, Valverde, as he sort of went down one of the alpine slopes. And this is the speed that he clocked that we measured based on his sensor. So he was traveling at 93 kilometers an hour on a bicycle. Now, for those riders out there in the room, you'll know that's very fast. That's like 55 miles an hour. There you go, right? And what was interesting, this started a whole bunch of conversation on social media, as you can imagine. And you saw Mark Cavendish and then others weigh in on their speed that they were clocking, and it was kind of in the same range. So when people actually started seeing this kind of speed and the athleticism of the riders, it, again, just engages that audience even more. These are the stats, in fact, through the last stage, stage 16. This is from our infographic. I'm more than happy to give you all the links, but if you follow those Twitter handles, especially at Le Tour Data, you'll get access to a number of these. And I think my takeaway on this is just the average speeds that these riders are achieving over 16 stages when they're averaging about 180 kilometers per day. I mean, this is just exhausting stuff. I can barely walk up a flight of stairs. But this is just incredible stuff from these athletes. Something new that we brought to the tour this year is actually some of the analytics around the time trial. So for those of you that don't know the sport of cycling, let me explain what a time trial is. And it's really they send off each rider 3 minutes after each other, and they literally by themselves have to go over a course, and it's a time trial, right? They're competing against a time that's set by other riders. And this was an example of comparison of the speeds between the guy who ultimately won the time trial leg, Tom Dumoulin, versus Chris Froome, who's the ultimate maillot jaune, or the ultimate race leader, or the yellow jersey leader. And just a sort of an aside, the reason it's yellow is you heard the CIO talk about the race really starting because of the newspaper Lotto. It actually started the race to sell more newspapers. And the reason it's yellow is because that initial newspaper was printed on kind of a yellow background paper. So just an aside. It's a bit small to see over here, but these are some of the other visualizations, right? So we often get into data and analytics, and everyone's like, can you sell me Tableau? And I'm like, yeah, we'll get there. But a lot of this is what you do with the data. Do you have the right records? Do you have the right data preparation? Do you have the right data management? And like I mentioned, we are managing all this data coming off the sensors of the bikes. They get transmitted to helicopters and aircraft. That then transmits down to the technical zone of every stage, because you can imagine the Wi-Fi signal in the Alps is not terrific. So it transmits down to our big data truck. Our big data truck has infrastructure in the truck, a significant amount of EMC infrastructure, in fact, and that is then moved up into our global cloud platform where we do most of the data analysis. It then comes back down to our big data truck and we push it out to the various media agents that need that data for television broadcasts or for the social tweets and other media forms. So again, data grows. We love that, right? Checks in the mail and data grows. We're already at 3 times more data through stage 16 than we were last year. We've already processed over 100 million records of data through stage 16. And we love this because, again, in a client situation, increasing data growth means increasing revenue for us, increasing opportunity to help them shape their business. So let's watch this video, and it really talks about the solution. And folks, this is really my last slide.
I have a question.
Oh, question, yes.
So do any of the cyclists have biometric sensors?
So not for the Tour de France, but we've been involved in some of the indoor racing, like the London 6, and there was a race in Australia as well, where we have biometric data. But this is mostly geospatial, ambient temperature, those sorts of things. I think some of the competition in the race, given that it's over 21 days, etc., is a little bit more tricky. And I think we may get to that. I think if the race organizers really insist on it. The individual riders do have that, obviously.
So you're not meshing yet?
Correct. It's a question of whether we'll get access to that or not.
Thank you.
But definitely the indoor racing, we do have more data points because I think it's a more controlled environment. Yeah. And folks, like I mentioned, follow this handle. This is our global world cycling team. And we're very proud because we are the only team to be riding for a charity. And it makes a significant difference when you have riders like Mark Cavendish selecting to join Team Dimension Data, riding for Quebecer. And Quebecer is a charity from Africa, and its cause is to raise 5,000 bicycles for underprivileged kids in Africa So a worthy cause, and again, when you've got these top athletes doing it for a cause, it makes the world of difference. So wish him luck in Rio. Steve Cummings, one of our other guys, also in the British team for Rio, so wish him luck, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to celebrate shortly. So this is our tagline, right? Dimension Data used to be a system integrator, very heavy infrastructure partner. We've moved and shifted and transformed ourselves, and we really ask our clients now, you know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Because whatever you think you can do, we can help you achieve that vision. So, folks, thanks for your time. Lots of good stuff. Carl, Ed, thank you so much for having us, and appreciate it.
Amazing. I had no idea. You guys should be very proud of what you're doing with the Tour de France.